Ronald Reagan, never strong on reporters' names, called CNN's White House correspondent the man with the beard.
Officials at the Afghan embassy here in Moscow said
As ABC's Moscow correspondent, he was often the man in the furry hat. It was cold in Moscow, and it was a great hat. Around the USC campus, he's known as the Dean, serving in his 15th year as Dean of the College of Information and Communications. Charles Bierbauer describes himself as a journalist by inclination, training, and profession. By the time he arrived in Columbia in 2002, he'd accrued a more than 35-year career as a journalist: print, wire service, online, and especially television and radio.
Radio was a first love, a storyteller's medium. In the dean's office, I keep a collection of old radios. My first radio assignment was in an unexpected place, a U.S. Army base in Sinop, Turkey. A bunch of us built our own radio station, and I was the news director and the host of a midnight jazz show. Back in college, I became the weekend newsman at WKAP in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
With degrees in journalism and Russian in hand from Penn State, he headed back overseas. Between the late 60s and early 80s, Bierbauer covered the Cold War from bases in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, Vienna, Austria, Bonn, West Germany, twice, London, and Moscow. After a stint with Westinghouse Group W's Philadelphia station KYW, ABC sought him out as its Moscow bureau chief.
While it's traditional to have a testimonial or two, a kind word here, let me offer one instead. I've been fortunate to work with incredible broadcasters throughout my career. At ABC, the late Peter Jennings and Frank Reynolds. In the Bonn Bureau, a phenomenal and funny German-Japanese camera team, Tony Hiroshiki and Teddy John. My Moscow crew, Nikolai, Alexei, Zoya, and Vasily. And at CNN, scores of people who put the network on the air and made it something incredible. These are the people that you learn with and you learn from, and though they are distant in time and space, they're very close in memory.
From a second assignment in Germany, Bierbauer joined the less-than-year-old CNN in 1981. The CNN gig lasted more than 20 years. 9 of those were covering the Reagan and Bush administrations. In his last 5 years with CNN, he reported from the U.S. Supreme Court, an assignment he considered his most intellectually challenging.
The bottom line of this ruling, which came to us around 10 o'clock this evening, was that the judgment of the Supreme Court of Florida is reversed, I'm reading, and the case is remanded for further proceedings not inconsistent with this opinion. After that, it gets complex.
Bierbauer met his wife, AP correspondent Suzanne Schaefer, when both were stationed in Germany. In 2001, Bierbauer had just left CNN, and Schaefer was covering the Pentagon for the AP. 9/11 was a turning point in their lives and in the nation's. In the ensuing year, Bierbauer consulted on the CBS Supreme Court drama First Monday and had a recurring role as himself.
On the case of the United States versus Danny Lowell. Our guests are Larry Flint, First Amendment advocate, and Bill O'Reilly, host of The O'Reilly Factor.
But he was on a path to Columbia and to USC, not Hollywood. In South Carolina, Bierbauer has remained a broadcast fixture, frequently interviewed for his journalistic and political expertise on many of your stations. And since 2002, he's been a key part of SCE-TV's political and election coverage. But what he is really proud of is USC's new journalism school building, opened in 2015.
I see faces among you who can count the decades. One or two, perhaps, who said, "I'll believe it when I see it." See. Believe. I know